What's up, Spell Slingers? My name is Garion John Wells.
I'm Drew Flitton.
And I'm Cory, Janibagian.
And this is Untap
Upkeep.
Drink.
Beer Up.
All right, guys, we are back again with another episode. Today, we've got a special guest because we're going to be talking about a couple things that this guy has done that we have not.
He's kind of the resident expert.
He's in some ways more experienced than all of us.
So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gardner. I'm from Idaho Falls. I knew all these guys growing up, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Michael's one of Cory and mine's best friends. Went to high school with him. Been playing Magic with him since we all started playing Magic, basically. He kind of brought in some of the extra flavor that we've talked about previously. First person to use board wipes in our group. First person to use just a lot of the...
First person to actually fucking play Magic.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly, yeah. We had to step up to Michael's game.
Yeah, Michael was like the first one to really make us kind of step up our game to figure out what it is to play Magic as a group, especially like our playgroup specifically.
Yeah, none of us used to really run removal, and then Michael did, and everyone hated Michael.
Sorry, guys.
But today specifically, we're going to be talking about Magicfest and GPs. So specifically, we're going to be talking about Magicfest Seattle because that's the one that Michael attended, as well as GP Seattle. Imagine that. They go hand in hand together.
But first, let's talk about some brews.
So it's been, I guess, months for us, but not so many months for you guys. I've been talking about the beers that I brought back from Oregon, and the one that I had that was the best beer of the trip, it was literally just too good to not be able to bring it home. And the brewery doesn't actually do bottles and cannings normally. Instead, I was able to get a growler, which is the mini growler with the can. So the one I brought back was the Shoga Ace from Seaside Brewing Co. in Seaside, Oregon. Went in, stopped in there, and they had a lot of good beers, massive variety as far as what was on offer compared to literally every other brewery that I stopped in at. Every other place had shitloads of IPAs, hoppy beers. They had a massive variety, and had to bring back this one because it was just the best beer that we found.
Yeah, Drew hasn't shut up about this beer for literal months.
Yeah. So it is a ginger blonde ale. The ginger really comes through nice and subtly. It's not something that just punches you in the face like some other ginger beers or ginger beer itself.
32 full flavored ounces.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
So this is a 4.5% ABV, 25 IBU, so it's a little more bitter than some of the other stuff that we've had on the show. I guess it's lighter than some of the IPAs we've had.
Yep.
But it's a well-balanced beer. So right off the bat, you do taste the ginger. It's actually quite a bit stronger than I remember. I guess when it was on tap there versus when it's been sitting for a while, that ginger's kind of brought in the powerhouse.
Yeah, it smells like ginger, but it doesn't really have like that burn that ginger beer, like you were saying, it has.
Yeah, it has that like sweet kind of taste to it.
Yeah.
It's a lightly malty beer.
It's
Weirdly
beautiful.
enough, it's kind of reminiscent, like with the malty flavors of like rice and ginger when you're having sushi. You know what I mean? Like not the sushi, but just like that kind of
That combo.
Yeah.
Damn, that's good. Wow.
It's a nice clear gold color, just slightly hazy.
Yeah. So Michael, you're not exactly the biggest beer aficionado among us, but
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I guess we should say, what kind of beers do you like, Michael? Like, you haven't been drinking. We all know you like liquor, but I don't know. Do you like craft beers? I know you've been branching out, but
I've been trying to branch out. I think probably my favorite are probably sours or,
hell yeah,
or
dude.
ciders.
Yep.
and
Good,
just
man.
because we brought Michael on, that's kind of what this episode is themed around, is sour beers and just how, I guess, Michael is joining the rest of us in the beer world.
I'm definitely open to try new beers, though.
Oh yeah, we get some weird. We've had, I think, one bad one so far.
I've had a couple that I didn't love, but
Yeah.
there was one that everybody was kind of like,
Yeah, we've been kind of fortunate on the show to actually have just genuinely good beers throughout the entire time, aside from the one.
We keep mixing it up, trying to get stuff that everybody likes.
And Cory, I brought for you the Paradise Pucker from Rogue.
Yeah, so this is one's sour ale, and it's from Newport, Oregon, like Drew was saying, from Rogue. It's 6% ABV and 5 IBUs, as you would expect from a sour.
Yeah,
going in. So this one says it's brewed with passion fruit, orange, and guava.
They've just thrown in every tropical fruit that they could think of.
Ooh.
Yeah, just smelling that one, I could tell that it was going to be right up Cory's out. The smell, you definitely have that sourness to it.
It definitely smells like sour. You get a lot of the passion fruit up front, and then sort of mellows out into the guava. So it's really, really fruity. It's a little tart, but it's really crisp. It's not like really, really sour, because I like really, really sour beers, but it's got a good level of sour.
So bark is worse than spite, and it does have this nice kind of almost ambery color, hazy.
But it's fruity in a very tropical way. It's not typical citrus fruits. Guava, when I think of guava, I always think of like guava syrup as like a replacement for maple syrup. But that's not what that tastes like. It's not like a sweet.
There's just a hint of guava at the very end.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've been chasing down passion fruit sours for like 5 years now. I haven't found what I'm looking for.
That one's a little too sour for
But
you.
yeah, it's too much of the sourness, not enough of the
passion fruit.
the fruit flavors. The fruit flavors are there, don't get me wrong. It's just not what the front of the beer is.
It's first and foremost a sour, very much. The beer that I've got here, gorgeous. We've got a North Coast Brewing Company Berliner Weisse. So it's a tart cherry Berlin white beer. Reining in at a hefty 4.1 ABV, and I called it before the show 0 IBU.
It's literally the perfect beer that I could have found for Gary.
Fucking beer. Yeah, boy.
It's got an awesome clear bottle, so you can see how just red the whole beer
Yeah,
is.
it's almost like a pink orange, kind of nice and clear.
It looks like a bottle of wine.
It definitely has a tart cherry smell. Like, to me, tart cherries have like cherry, but almost like a cinnamon kind of smell to them. And the smell is like dead on tart cherry.
And the sour in that is way less than Cory's beer. It's way less tart.
That's fucking good.
It's like the perfect wine for me. Like, it's that wine without the grape flavor.
So, being from a family that has their own orchard and like does all of their own canning, things like that, the tart cherries that my family grows, when they're on their own and when they've been processed, they actually have this kind of cinnamon taste to them naturally. Like when we make the jam out of them, it comes through, and I have no idea why. And that's exactly what it reminds me of. Like, my parents could have made that, and I would have known exactly the orchard that it came from.
Yeah, it's kind of like a spiced cherry cider almost.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't taste like a beer.
It seems much closer to a cider than it does a beer.
I think it tastes more like a cider than it does a sour as well. I mean, I guess it's not technically labeled as a sour. It's a tart cherry white beer.
This is sour adjacent, right? Mine's not sour technically.
It's a sour term.
but like we were saying, it's certainly less. It's much more tame than what you would think of as a sour.
Yeah, it doesn't have any like bite or anything. It's just chill.
Yeah, it doesn't have that kind of vinegary kind of sourness to it.
This here is not a sipping beer. This is a keep it away from her. I chug the whole goddamn thing.
Michael actually has been the best guest as far as just, he supplied his own beer.
Yeah.
I told him what the theme was. I went in with him to go get some beers, and he picked this one out. Tell us about it.
So, the beer that I picked was the Farmer's Reserve Blackberry. It's a sour blonde ale. It's from the Almanac Beer Company. It's a 6.9% ABV. The IBU is unknown, though. So
yeah, we couldn't find that. So
yeah, we were looking it up, and it's like such a small.
It's a
batch
limited.
It's got a decent alcohol content, though. It's barrel aged, right?
Yeah. So this one, exactly. It's a barrel aged one. They take the beer that they make, the blonde ale, and then they put it into wine barrels with blackberries. That's how they get. I mean, the color, obviously,
it's an amazing color.
The smell on it is fantastic. It does have a very wine-esque smell.
Yeah, going in.
Yeah, you guys got to look at the pictures on this one, because that beer,
it's like a dark red, really almost purple.
Wow, that's delicious.
I'm going in.
It's very blackberry-ish.
Yo, yeah. Okay, yeah. This one's good. I'm stealing this one.
Bro.
It kind of smells not like anything that I've ever smelled before.
To me, it smells like a sour. Just like sour, but like with wine notes to it.
But the taste. Ooh, yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't just be smacking so close to the mic.
Damn, Michael, pick my beer out next time.
Like Garion, that is definitely not a sipping beer.
Oh yeah,
I disagree. That is something that I would want to sip at.
I'm just gonna down the whole thing.
Yeah, I want to drink
fast.
that whole thing.
It's gonna get dangerous real quick.
This one's really tart. And so I think for most people, you probably would sip on it because, you don't want a whole lot of it. I would
since we love them.
Oh my God.
Well, the thing is that it doesn't taste like a normal sour to me, right? It's tart, but not sour.
Yeah, good choice, Michael. God
So,
damn.
gentlemen, we've got some brews. We've got our glasses filled. we're talking about MagicFest, specifically MagicFest Seattle, which Michael attended.
Yeah, but before we get into like the minutia, we're gonna talk about just MagicFest in general, right? Describe what it is, what goes on there, just so that way, if you attend a MagicFest, you'll know what to expect.
Well, Drew, what is MagicFest?
So MagicFest are events that are hosted by Channel Fireball, which is one of the major card sellers and distributors around, especially Central U.S. They're originally called Grand Prix, but they were renamed to include all of the side events, the artists, the meet and greets, things like that, general commerce, and the non-competitive gatherings that happen there. Basically, it's Comic-Con for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it was more of a tournament, and now it's just a gathering of everybody.
But it still hosts the GPs, the Grand Prix.
It still has all the good stuff.
Yeah, so think of it as Comic-Con with tournaments that happens multiple times throughout the year and around the world, which is really awesome. So the main event, as it's colloquially referred to as, is the Grand Prix, right? So it's a competitive REL, which is the rule enforcement level MTG tournament, right? It's the big one that we compete in. So just before we talk about it more in depth, it's just the things that you should remember about competitive rules enforcements is that you have to have regulated card types in general.
Didn't they make it so you can't use the spin down dice anymore too?
Correct.
They outlawed those.
Yeah. So basically, no additional items can be used aside from the actual cards, and then counters that represent things only if something is specifically stated to put counters on it.
Yeah, so
that's loyalty counters plus and plus and counters.
buy all your tokens and stuff before.
It's up to you to remember your triggers. You can play something on top of your deck if you need to remember a like upkeep trigger, but that's literally the only thing you can do. You have to remember them on your own. And I think kind of the most important thing, and Michael, you can add to this, is that it's up to both players to keep track of life totals and when life changes. Bring a life pad or a notepad or something along those lines to keep track of both players' life totals. You're not allowed to use your phone. You're not allowed to use spin down counters. And to be frank, pen and paper is rarely going to fail you.
Exactly. That's what they tell you at the thing. You cannot have the spin down dice, as Cory was saying. They said that you have to use a pen and paper.
Can you use those cool like electronic notepads where you can like press a button and it just automatically erases it?
Yeah, that's what I use. The boogie boards.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
That's sick.
Those are the best.
So GPs themselves can be one of several formats, limited, standard, or modern. They can also be legacy, but that one kind of pops up rarely nowadays.
But oftentimes these multiple GPs can be held at a single MagicFest, correct?
That's more rare. I think Vegas is usually the only one that has
I was going to say
multiple.
Vegas has standard and modern for sure.
No,
Modern and sealed.
Yeah, modern and limited.
Isn't
Modern
Vegas
Limited.
the big one?
Vegas is the big one, yeah. And so Vegas is going to be the 22nd to the 25th of August. So that's why this episode is coming out when it is. But when you're doing these events, there are sometimes also team events that can be done, which is super fun to watch, especially the pros when they do it. They get into day two, and like it's just some of the most interesting Magic because of what is required of them. I think it's just a lot of fun to watch. So GPs are 2-day tournaments that challenge players to compete for high-stakes prizes. They're Swiss-style events, which means that you play up to 3 games per match. Your record determines who you're going to play in your next round, and you play a set number of rounds based on however many people are there or however many rounds are required of the event, and then the top X number of people are going to advance.
Swiss style. I'm more of a cheddar man.
Speaking of the top guys who get to advance, I know one. Dude's name is Michael. Made it to day motherfucking 2, bro.
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
So that's why we brought Michael on the show, because A, I've never been to a MagicFest. Y'all? No? Only Michael. And not only that, but he day 2'd, which is just so awesome. First of all, we're proud of you.
Thanks,
Hell
dude.
yeah.
We had a Snapchat feed going.
yeah.
I was literally chatting with my family about it. Nobody cared at all except me. I was like, guys, Michael made it to day 2. And it just shows your prowess at Magic.
Yeah. Before we, brag too much about it, let's talk about what is actually required to get to day 2. So for our limited events, it's again going to be a modified Swiss style. On day 1, you're going to have sealed, 50-minute rounds on those sealed rounds. And what you do is you register the sealed pool that you're handed, and then you trade with someone else. And you're actually going to build from the deck that you're given that's already been registered. And when you're registering, all you do is you basically just list the cards that are given in the pool. Right, Michael?
Yeah, so you open up your pack. You show it to the person across from you, the cards in your pack. You give them that deck. They open up their pack, show you their cards, give you that deck, and you register each other's pool.
So you're basically opening each other's packs?
No, so the packs, you're given the packs in front of you.
Okay.
and you open them up, fan them out, show them the rare, the uncommons, and then once you're done opening all those, you give them a cross.
So that's basically to show you're not cheating and adding your own cards.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
but then you get your cards back to build your pool.
Yes. So you register each other's pools first,
Makes
and
sense.
then hand everything back, and you go through the sheet that they registered to make sure they didn't cut you on a card or add too many. And
Okay.
Yeah, it's
build
just
your pool.
a way to check and double check to make sure that
Yeah.
everyone is playing fairly. The packs that you're given are all from the same set. You know, you're not somehow, pulling in cards from random places or whatever. It's just a way to make sure that everyone is playing on an even field, which sealed is definitely like
Did
the
they
one you
have
want.
like a checklist with every single card in the set?
Yep.
And he was
Yes.
like leafing through this, like, God, you got all this random ass common weight here at the back.
No, so before you hand each other your decks, they have you separate them into whites, the Wooburg, colorless, artifacts, lands, whatever you
Okay.
have. So it's easy. And then the sheet itself is separated. You got all your whites, your blues, your reds, your blacks, your greens. So you can go through it super quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's super organized.
That sounds way better than what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's not like
Alphabetic.
So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
alphabet was like, I don't know what, I don't care about this card.
But yeah, so basically trying to make sure it's as fair as possible and that, everything goes smoothly because you only have, I believe it's 30 minutes to register decks and then 20 minutes to build, or maybe the opposite.
So I can't fully remember, but I think it was 30 minutes to register, 20 minutes to
build.
check and build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
like people who are going to be doing these events are probably going to be people who, go to pre-release and are kind of used to this sort of
They
environment.
know the set. Yeah, that
So-
makes sense.
It shouldn't hopefully take too long for you to build your deck at that point in time. You've seen all the cards of the set. You should hopefully know what's going on. So you play.
So wait, do you play that person, or is it just who's ever sitting across from you?
No, you don't play that person.
Okay, I was like, then you know every card in their deck. I was like, that's not fair.
No, my sideboard is my main board.
Yeah, so you have like your deck registration, your deck building, and then
And then you just
have
everyone
pairings
gets
for first
sorted.
round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you have 8 rounds, just like you do in constructed events, and you need a 6-2 record, just like you do for constructed events, to make it to day 2 to make the cut, and then you'll have a 9th game on the first day that'll start your record for day 2.
Which is a draft, right?
Yeah, so day 2 is going to be a draft with fresh boosters. You're going to do it in an 8-man pod, and you're basically just going to draft the best deck that you can, and you're going to do another Swiss-style set of matches, 50-minute rounds, and you're going to do 6 rounds, which, Michael, you have the experience here. You said it's 3 for each draft that you did.
Yes.
So draft 3 matches, draft another set, 3 matches. So 6 rounds in total there, 7 rounds on day 2 record, and your top 8 players are going to advance. So unfortunately, Michael, you were not in top 8.
Dude,
but-
if you were top 8, ooh.
Goddamn.
All right, so the top 8 players are then going to go into another draft with more fresh boosters. It's going to be random seeding, so that way there's no bias for whatever reason. And then it's going to be a bracket style event from there. Best 2 out of 3 for your games with no time limit.
No time limit.
They want to make sure that the games that are played are going to be the best games that are possible. Like obviously
Right.
you're going to play the Magic that you can, and you're not going to like play slow or anything like that.
So
I
that
believe
that
that.
way you're not playing prevent defense to make it to that end clock.
Yeah. All right.
Hell no, dude.
I need some
Show
refreshments.
some
I'm
respect.
gonna go back to my beer.
Yeah, Drew hyping up this Oregon beer, sets it down. It's just this aluminum, no coloring, just aluminum gray silver can with just some black ink.
Yeah, they don't do like mass
32
marketing or anything on
ounces.
it.
Yeah, you
they
can
have
tell-
the brewery and just the growlers are only way you can get it out of the brewery itself.
Honestly, sometimes that's how you know it's good because they haven't had to soup up some logo or some shit to make people.
Yeah, you can tell it's a limited run because the name of the beer and the information is literally just written on a Sharpie or in Sharpie on
yeah.
the side. Like,
Dude, when I first saw that
Somebody
can,
wrote that.
I thought it was a Steel Reserve. I was like, oh shit.
Drew's been talking of the Steelers.
I
or
did
not?
have a Budweiser way back in the day. We didn't bring it on an episode, but it was like a Jim Beam aged
we did put it on an
Budweiser.
episode, didn't we?
That-
No, we drank it before.
Yeah,
an
we
episode.
did a sacrificial beer as
yeah,
we were trying to figure out
sacrificed
if
it to the beer gods if it was worth it.
yeah.
It was not.
It was
it was a Budweiser.
it was certainly a Budweiser. It was like a stronger flavored Budweiser.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't.
It wasn't-
I will say that it wasn't bad.
It wasn't fucking passion fruit sour beer, but
I will say though, if we're gonna start doing best beers, I think Michael picked out the winner.
for reals. We've got some bangers here though.
So Drew was drinking the Seaside Brewing Ginger Blonde. I had the North Coast Brewing Company Berliner Weiss. So
tart cherry
white
Weiss.
beer. Yeah.
I had the Paradise Pucker from Rogue.
And Michael's got that
I've got that
Farm Reserve Blackberry Sour.
Yes, the Farmers Reserve Blackberry.
That's the Almanac Brewing Company, yeah.
All right, it's a sour blonde ale, but that's been aged in wine barrels with blackberries. Like honestly, like that's a good fucking go.
seriously.
Like
I just like
my
the bottle,
language.
dude. They got a hell of a design on here.
yeah, you
Dope-ass
can tell that they
treat.
care about that. Like the only thing that this is missing is the batch number, like to be like the last like little check
Yeah,
mark. You know.
that-
All right, so Michael, we brought you on the show. Kind of ask you some questions here, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I thought you were gonna say no. I was like, all right,
I'm
episode done.
Thought
That's a
about
wrap.
it.
So, just to jump into it, you went to GP Seattle, or sorry, Magicfest Seattle. You played in the GP, played in the main event. What did you play?
As far as decks or like the
Yeah,
events?
yeah. What did you play in the GP itself?
In the GP, I played Demir Ninjas, Ninjutsu.
So it was Modern Horizons.
Yes, Modern Horizons.
Was it a draft or was it the limited one? Or
Just the GP is.
The GP was
and then-
limited.
but didn't you play a different deck each? round?
No. So
He actually, I remember him in the Snapchat. He's like, guys, I drafted Black Blue Ninjas.
yeah.
I was like,
So in my
shit, yeah.
limited, I played Black Blue Ninjas.
And then you
in
went into the draft.
I played Black Blue Ninjas.
And what about
in
your
the
second draft?
Second draft. Guess what I played?
Did you really?
Black Blue
Wow,
Ninjas.
that's impressive. Honestly, did you force it or was it just actually came naturally? Because
No, no one was drafting black or blue
which
around
is
me,
super weird.
which
to me.
didn't make much
Because
sense.
Black blue generally is a pretty strong color pairing in general
reals.
for draft, just because black you have your removal, blue you can play those control elements, have flyers, and with the ninjas, I think maybe that's what it is that black blue being the ninja tribe is kind of people don't really know what to make of that tribe. I think that it's kind
Yeah.
of one that's
I
hard
think
to
it's
It
evaluate.
is kind of an underplayed tribe.
A
Yeah.
lot of I think a lot of people are scared of it because it's got elements of both the trickiest parts of black and blue because the timing
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
perfect. You
Yeah,
have to
and-
know when to make that
Yeah,
move,
and
you
also
know?
like when it comes to the ninjas tribe specifically, like you have to have major payoffs in the ninjas, but you also have to have ways to get through unblocked damage, right? And so tell us about the deck that you were running.
So during the Grand Prix day one, Black Blue was just nuts for me. I had probably 90% of my creatures were ninjas.
Damn.
That's a pretty good break. Let's be real.
I had 3 of those unblockable ninjas and 2 of those changelings that couldn't be blocked. So getting through to hit the ninjutsu
Didn't seem
effect,
too bad. If you have 5 creatures that can get through, that's
it
pretty good.
wasn't too hard as far as getting my ninjutsu out, which made it kind of nice.
Just like consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody wants to use a removal spell on a 1-drop.
Yeah, especially that changeling. It's 1/1, can't be blocked or can't block as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of
especially since it's a decision too. So when it's coming in unblocked, even the second round, you're like, this motherfucker's gonna ninjutsu. So you kill it, and they don't because, of course, why would they at that point? So now you really did feel like you wasted your removal on a 1/1 because you kind of did.
I also had a lot of those slugs that had menace.
Oh
involved.
right,
Nice.
Yeah,
It's-
it's a 03 for 1 or 2
No, it was 03 for 2, I believe.
with menace.
Was
With
it
menace
black or
and
was it
evolve.
blue?
It was black.
Yeah, black with evolve. Crazy. Modern Horizons
Yeah,
did some
seriously.
weird stuff.
And
It's a
so
fun set.
it was always fun to swing in with a 0-3 because you can't block a menace with just one creature. And so
So they had to make
bounce your
proper
slug.
decisions. Yeah.
yeah, they could either bounce the slug, try to kill it, waste a removal. And so they always knew, okay, an 03 slug, here comes a ninja, what is it? And so it was
Yeah,
a lot
especially
of
if
fun.
you have other like something else that goes unblocked as well, and you get the ninjutsu trigger off, and then because of the evolve, the slug is also going to get powered up. So even though they couldn't block the slug, whether they wanted to or not, a 0 all of a sudden just became a 1/4 and starts to punch in actual damage, and that starts to
Yeah,
matter.
and
that
it
seems
adds
like
up quick.
a very hard to fight deck. If you keep bouncing all your shit back and they can't do anything about it, especially since it's so low to the ground and low CMC, no one wants to waste their spells on that shit.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely a lot of fun, and you could see people were definitely frustrated with it.
They were
Yeah,
like
it-
sideboards, like, what the fuck do I do?
Basically, just bring in all your remove and all your low drops that can block the slug. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like you can't block the
Flood the
unblockables.
board.
That doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, having to race a ninjutsu deck seems kind of scary because you don't know what they're going to pull out.
Exactly.
You're not sure what ninjutsu effects are even going to pop out because they were all different, all crazy.
Damn.
So besides the GP, did you play in any side events? Did you go visit Artist Alley, check out, get some merch?
Yeah, so when I first got to GP, I actually played mainly side events because the GP didn't start till, I believe, day 3. So day 1 and 2 was just all about the side
Oh,
events.
hell yeah. That's awesome. I mean, this is a super loaded question because I look at you and you've got the Mowu shirt.
Of course.
So-
He's got swag from the event.
Yep. So obviously you're playing some War of the Spark. It was just barely released, right?
No, it'd been out a while. I only played one War of the Spark event.
Draft or sealed?
It was sealed. It was the format was you played one game.
That's
wasn't
it?
2 out of 3.
Wow, so just a blitz?
Yeah. Well, yeah, basically. And there was 8 rounds, only one game each round.
That's
And
crazy.
It was wild.
How'd you do?
I don't remember. I went like 3 and 6. Like I didn't, or 3 and 4. I didn't really.
Say he's cheating. He's playing extra
3 and
games.
5, whatever adds up to 8. But it was.
Wasn't the best?
It wasn't
Not
the
your
best.
best deck.
That was you're just getting all your practice in.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the day. All the other events were like closing down, and I figured I'll just jump in this one, and it was a lot of fun.
What other side events did you do?
My very first one I did was a chaos draft. And that was definitely a wild experience.
Do you remember what packs were going around?
In my packs, I had an Eternal Masters,
Okay.
Nice.
Khans of Tarkir, and a War of the
Nice.
Spark.
Ooh, damn.
So potential power level in
Yeah.
there is pretty high.
There's some good things, good draft set.
Yeah, my buddy actually played an event. It was a Modern Horizons draft, and the dude opened up his first pack. He had a foil sword and a sword, and he got up and said, "I'm walking away. I'm done."
Damn.
And I was like, "Cool."
Fair enough. That'll ruin the draft for everyone else. But I guess if you open money, sometimes you take
That's
money.
what I would worry about with like a chaos draft because there's so many different. I mean, you might just hit Nemmercool or some crazy shit and be like, "Well, I'm not going to play it, but I'll take it home. Thanks, boys."
Yeah, in my chaos draft, I opened up and there was a Bloodstained Mire and another foil rare. I don't remember what the foil rare was, and I was like, I don't know if it's worth money, but
Fetch lands are good.
They're
I was like,
always
I can't pass up this fetch land.
They'll never
Honestly,
be
fetches
bad.
are still going to be good in draft.
I was going
Yeah.
to say, at least at that point, you probably are going to use it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
What about artists and stuff? Did you go touring Artist Alley?
Yeah, I feel like when I wasn't playing any draft or anything or waiting between rounds, I was always just over there exploring the artist alley.
So on our way here, I brought Michael, surprised Cory and Garion here with this episode. You said that your kind of biggest regret was to not actually get stuff from Artist Alley.
Yeah, I spent so much time just looking, and I told myself, I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy some tokens, but I never did. And if you guys ever go, you have to buy tokens.
Yeah, because they can do custom tokens for you, right?
I believe so, yeah. And just every artist there has their own take on tokens, and their artwork is just so gorgeous.
I'm gonna go to everybody and ask for a goblin token. Can I get a goblin for
That would be
each
so
of you?
sick.
Get it autographed.
Those are
Hell
the
yeah.
only ones I'll ever use again.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that you can get autographs. You can get your
Need
cards
cards
signed.
signed. Oh, that'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
Yeah, because
See,
like
that's
imagine
what-
a History of Benalia signed by Noah Bradley. I will say though, don't be that guy that brings like 50 cards from your favorite artist. And have them signed. Right?
They're like, okay,
It's
an
like,
hour
yeah,
later.
just pick your favorite. Damn.
No, the thing is, like, some of those artists don't care because a lot of the artists like charge you for a signature.
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
like,
that's cool.
all right, pay 50 cards, sure, dude.
It's revenue for 'em.
They figured it out.
I
Yeah.
mean, to some degree, like autographs from like a baseball player or something like that, I think it's dumb when they ask for money. But like, especially at an event like that where they're sitting there all day basically for that purpose to like meet you and sign your shit and talk to you, like, I'm totally cool paying like $5 for an autograph. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it wasn't even that much. It was maybe like $1 or $2.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd figure. It's like a couple bucks for it. And I think, I mean, I list Noah Bradley, but like Teresa Nielsen obviously would be just incredible.
Yeah.
Victor Adame has some really good art. Get the Shalai sign for sure because that would be so incredible.
I just know that the guy that made the new Soul Ring was the guy that made the first Soul Ring. They had a big interview about it, and they're like, "Hey, dude, we want something like new and refreshing, but also a callback to your original Soul Ring." And he's just like whipped this shit up. They have like
That's
an
awesome.
interview and like all of his sketches and stuff. Super dope.
One of the things I would like to get is just artist proofs
Yeah.
because that would just be.
I mean, I'd like to get a bunch for the set when we go video, but I mean, I'm spending hundreds of dollars.
Hey, that's way.
All right, we can talk about this stuff forever. But Michael, I asked you to kind of bring out the best and worst moments that you had at Magic Fest, right? The kind of stressful or intense moments, the ones we're going to talk about here first. You
The
said that-
highlights.
yeah, exactly. You said that you had a judge called on you on 2 separate occasions.
Damn ninjas.
It was 2 separate occasions, but for the same thing both times.
Okay, so
Cheating.
go into it. All right,
Straight
So
up.
One of them you said was actually in the GP.
Yeah, so the first time I got called on was just a side event.
Okay.
It was the second day of Magic Fest. We were literally the last event going on. and I'm pretty sure me and my opponent were the last people
So
playing.
you were the
I think.
finishers of the day, and
Yeah,
the judge is just like, no, finish.
Yeah, we were
Good enough. Go.
We were the finishers, and we were playing our deck. It got to the end of game 2, and we just had massive board states. We had tokens galore, and we finished that game, moved them off to the side, go to game 3. We're in the middle of game 3, and we had spectators around us. And one of the spectators, I guess, went and I looked up, and he was talking to one of the judges, and I was like, what is this guy doing? And he's pointing over at me, and I was like, what the hell does this guy want with me?
That's got to be that shit
it's like,
moment.
It was kind of an oh shit moment / what the hell did I say something to
It's your opponent's
offend this
best
guy?
friend, and he's like,
Yeah, and so I kept playing the game. Next thing I know, the judge is walking towards me, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's the oh shit
That's
moment.
the oh shit moment.
Yeah.
And the judge is like, where is it? And the random bystander points to the pile of tokens. And I was like, what do you want? And I look, and one of my cards is laying off to the sides. And I was like, oh shit.
So you were playing with an illegal deck.
Yeah, it was technically an illegal deck, and so I told her the situation, how we had a lot of tokens, shuffled everything off to the side. I forgot to put a card in. And the judge is like, well, do you know your next couple of cards? Did you scry or anything? And I was like, no, haven't played any of that. I don't know the order of my deck. And luckily, the judge was like, all right, I'm just going to shuffle it back in and
Issue a game warning, basically?
issue a warning. But I was like, okay. Luckily, nothing else
for
happened.
game 3 of the last game
Yeah.
of the night.
Well, that actually brings up like a really kind of important point, which is this reminder that it's okay to have a judge called on you, and it's okay for you as an individual to call the judge, right? And like for me, I think it's better that you are the one to call the judge than it is, your opponent for something that you made a mistake for, right? Judges aren't there just to punish people. Like Michael said, they can issue, just simple game warning, right? If you have a game violation or a rule state violation, they're not there just to punish people. They want you to make sure that you're playing as much Magic as you can, and that they have to interfere as little as possible. They're just trying to make sure.
Yeah, they're just making sure everything's fair. Everyone has an equal chance to do as best as they can. They're not there to fuck on people.
Yeah, and like looking at what is required from a judge, because I've done a lot of stuff trying to become a judge, and a lot of what judges do is just clarify rules for people. Like that's like their main job.
For reals.
Yeah.
And I think something that a lot of people don't think about is that it's okay to call a judge on yourself. And if you think you've made a mistake, better to do that than to wait a few turns later, have your opponent make that call, and then kind of have that error, presented from that negative stance rather than
Yeah,
I think
it feels
I
like an
messed up.
accusation instead of, hey, am I doing this right? Is this okay? So the second time you got called, it was for the same thing? Like you'd shuffled it in with your tokens, basically?
Yeah.
Or?
So the second time was actually during the Grand Prix. And it was game 2, same thing. Game 2, shuffled everything. We had a big board state, tokens, shuffled everything to the side. It was in the middle of game 3. My opponent killed a token, and I put the token off to the side. And I saw my card, and I instantly thought, I'm fucked. And so I grabbed the card, and I was like, hey, look, what do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to put this in the graveyard? And he's like, we need to call a judge.
Yeah, that's the
And
correct.
it was the correct thing to do, but I was thinking, you bastard. So
It's like, damn it, we could have been cool.
I got caught.
so they called the judge over, and the judge is like, I got to go talk to someone about this. And I was like, well,
This is your second time, you summit.
well, this is a different day.
Right.
Different day, different judge.
Different day,
Different
different
event
judge.
entirely, yeah.
Different day,
If
different
it was that
judge.
same lady, you'd be like, oh, you.
And so I was talking to my opponent. I was like, dude, I told him the situation. I was like, dude, we both had a huge board state. Like, this is an accident. I didn't purposely put a card out there. And he's like, obviously, it's one of your best cards. And I was like, exactly.
So I'm guessing it was the ninja that makes copies of itself, or
No, it was actually the goblin that makes 2 other goblins that you can sack and ping for potentially 3 damage
yeah,
and gain 3 life.
the black goblin.
Yeah, it's a black one that makes red goblins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're sitting there waiting, and I'm just talking to my opponent, and I'm like, bro, you're probably going to get this win. I'm sorry. I promise I wasn't cheating. He's like, oh, dude, it's no big deal. Just, got to clear everything up with the judges. And luckily the judge came back, asked me the same question. Do you know the order of your deck? And I was like, no, I haven't scryed or anything. And he's like, have you been issued any warnings? And I was like, no, not during the Grand Prix. And he's like, all right, fair enough. And he did the same thing. He just shuffled it back to my deck. And I was like, I was like, thank God.
God, see, that annoys me because, like, you're not lying by any means.
No,
it's just like, you have, just not today.
But honestly, guys, like, you don't know fear until you get a judge called on you during a Grand Prix.
When you travel to a different state for
We'll
a
talk
tournament.
about knowing fear on our last one here. But in round 1 of the GP, you lost your first game.
Oh, I got shit on.
Yeah. And then in game 2 of that round, you had to mulligan down to 5, but your opponent kept 7.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was screwed. Drew my 5 cards, and it just was a golden hand.
This was before London.
Yes, correct. So I had to mulligan down to 5, and I had that ninja that makes copies of itself. And I was able to get it out, ninjutsu it in turn 3 or whatever the ninjutsu it was, and he couldn't put out a creature till turn 5.
Oh, snap.
Wow, so you just ran away with that
Yeah,
game.
so I was just swinging in with this ninja.
Yeah, because when it deals damage, it makes an exact copy of itself. So those copies also make copies.
Yeah.
So it just gets out of hand so fast.
It got out of hand real quick, and then
Probably just ran away with that game. He was probably wondering what happened.
yeah, he was. You could
He had
just
the tire
he was
max on his back.
smiling
He's
every
just like,
time I mulligan. You could see it in his eyes that he was so confident he was going to win.
Oh yeah, like to be in a competitive event and to see your opponent mull is like one of the best things because it increases your odds drastically.
Yeah, it always hurts having to take a mulligan, even just at a limited like pre-release. Just like, oh man.
But you won that? You won
I
that,
did.
the full round?
Yeah, and we went to game 3, and same thing. I got the
God hand.
ninja again, and just kept swinging in, and
Just run away with it.
the dude was definitely frustrated. You could see it in his eye, but I was like, "Sorry, bro, good game. I'm gonna go report."
I'm out.
Time to talk about the actual just fear in your eyes. Getting to round 8 of the GP, right? So your last match, obviously, you're trying to make it to day 2,
Yes.
right? And so, how'd you do it? Like, what was going through your head?
So I started off 2-2, and I had to win 4 consecutive to go 6-2.
shit.
And I was like, "There's no way!" But somehow I kept winning, and I kept reporting to you guys like, "Dude, I won another round."
I know. it was like a super
our group
exciting
chat
night.
was just like,
dude.
oh shit, Mike, let's keep going.
And I was like, "I can't let my boys down."
Yeah, Michael just continually because like I'm in a different chat with Michael than these guys are, and so it was just I get the chat and then I send it to Cory and Gary. I'm just like, "You guys see this?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's in the group chat. It's in the group chat." Just like next one comes in, yeah, he's going.
It
He's
literally
going.
was like FDR radio time, dude. I was so stoked. He's like, "Michael, tell me what you got. What you got?" He's like, "I'm 6-1. I made it to day 2."
Yeah.
And so,
tight.
round 8, where I was 5-2, I played against this guy, and I was scared. It was actually a kid.
And at this point, because it's Swiss, he's also at a similar record, so you know it's not just some chump.
Yeah,
right?
it was kind of funny though, because it was a little kid, and he comes up and he's like, "I am so excited! I've never made it this far."
And you're just like, I'm gonna stomp you into the ground.
And I was
boy.
like, "Good
Either
luck,
that,
dude."
or it's just like this kid is gonna knock me out.
yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
lose to a
Yeah.
kid.
That's the thing. I was like, if I lose, I couldn't tell everyone I lost to like a 6-year-old. So I was like, shit, I gotta win this. And like, it was just terrifying because if you
Any
lose this,
wrong mistakes, yeah, that's
any
it.
wrong mistakes, you can't make a mistake or you're screwed. But we played our rounds, and it was the round game 1. Both games, it was only 2 games, but both games were close. We were playing mirror decks to each other.
Nice.
And so our life totals, I think I ended with 3 life the first game,
Damn.
and like 5 life the second game. So it was definitely a
Nice
a
back and
grind,
forth,
a
good
back and forth
games.
match. And the kid, you could tell, I thought he was gonna cry when I beat him. So I hurried up and said, "Good game," shook his hand, had him sign the paper, and got out of there before I saw the waterworks.
Damn.
Rough. Poor kid.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about Dana Fisher once on the show. She's, I think, the youngest person ever day 2. She's like 8 or something like
Yeah,
that.
something ridiculous.
Kid just is insane.
I mean,
so-
that little kid made it farther than ever. We made it to Magic Fest. We haven't even gotten there.
Yeah, we actually haven't even made the drive. So obviously that was one of your more stressful events, but obviously that's got to be one of your best moments, right? Just making day 2, going from a 2-2 record, you have to win every single game from there on out, right?
Yes.
You're only allowed to lose 2, period. Basically, if you want to make it to day 2, you just got to take that grind all the way.
Honestly, dude, if I'm 0-1, that first game, I'm like,
You
fuck.
give up.
I wouldn't give up, but I mean, the hopes are gone. I'm like, well, it was fun.
I made it here. I'm in Seattle, I guess.
My buddy, though, he played in an event the day before the Grand Prix that if you go 4-0, you get 2 buys for it.
Oh, what?
And he won
For
it.
the GP?
Yeah, and he won it. and then lost the next 3.
Oh, poor Joe.
You had such a good start, man.
Yeah, he did. He started off really good, like the first couple of days, and then the Grand Prix just didn't have anything in his pool.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been there.
Happen,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just happens.
Yeah. It's the variance that comes with Magic sometimes. All right, so obviously that's got to be like your top moment, right? Making day 2. But you all said that just being at Magic Fest was just one of the highlights of your trip.
Oh, Magic Fest is probably the highlight of my summer. Like, if you guys get an opportunity to go to a Magic Fest, I strongly encourage clear your schedule and go.
One of your other top, notes that you have here for me was that you just got to sit around for a bit watching top level players play Magic.
Yeah, it was wild. People pulling off shit like that I'd never think of. Just combos, things I didn't see.
So did you get to watch the top 8?
I had the opportunity, but I didn't stick around and watch the top 8. But I watched a lot of the rounds. Like when you did drafts, I'd always watch the people that made it to the finals of the drafts, or the Richmond Invitation. I think it was Richmond Invitation. They had a mythic qualifier
Right.
that had the opportunity to qualify for some big event somewhere in Virginia. I don't remember where it was, but I sat around and watched some people play that, and watched the qualifiers for the next day of that, and just watching these high level Magic players just
blow your mind.
blow my mind with these different moves that I've never thought of.
So just an overwhelming learning experience.
Yeah, and I thought, like, watching them, I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm gonna get shit on. But I don't know. I definitely walked away from this Grand Prix with a lot more confidence in Magic.
I would say like your attentiveness to specific rules has also changed. Like before, I mean, we're all still fairly casual. Like we compete when we want to and when we need to. But you are a lot more like cognizant of specific rules and rules interactions than you were before, making sure that, if somebody forgets their triggers, that it's on them to remember their own triggers, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember way back when we first started going to pre-releases, and like my opponents would say, "I'm moving to combat." So I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Just say you're gonna attack. Like, I don't care if you're moving to combat."
Yeah, like announcing all of your steps.
And now
and
that's
like,
I can't not do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
like
just
to announce
all those
basically
picking
like
up all those
priority
rules. Yeah,
changes
just
and things like that. Yeah, it's something that
all those timings.
yeah, it's something that I guess we kind of take it for granted now. But
Yeah.
like back then, it was kind of like, yeah, that obviously like you're gonna attack. Like that's what comes after your main phase. I know that. I'm an idiot, and I know that. All right, so Michael, what's the take home for us?
Go to a GP, I think. Is what his
Definitely.
take-home message was.
The takeaway is I definitely walked away from Magic Fest as a more confident player, and I would definitely suggest going. It'll help your confidence. It'll boost your game, get you to that next level.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be worth not just the cost, but like the time investment that it takes. For Vegas specifically, it's going on when the Commander set is being released. So they actually have like a Commander night basically that they're doing there. There's like a Commander celebration.
I think they're doing like a live command zone at that.
Yeah, so there's probably
I believe
commands,
they're
I think
gonna be
Loading Ready
doing-
Run do a podcast usually when they're there as well. There's a lot of like big names in Magic as well as just like big names in the Magic content creation universe.
Yeah, just the experiences sounds 10 out of 10.
And playing with different people, playing new environments, just playing to play, just playing to have fun, right? Doing what everyone wants to do.
And I think that's the best part about like commander decks, just as an aside, is 100 cards just makes every game just so variable.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a combo deck, obviously, but
high variance decks are definitely what Magic is all about.
especially the pre-counts.
Sorry, going back to like when you're talking about the getting a judge called on you, I actually had a game in the Grand Prix, a match in the Grand Prix, where my opponent got a game loss because of a judge. Well, what didn't get called on him, but the judge, I guess, caught him not having a valid deck.
Oh shit!
Really?
Yeah, so it was actually a funny story. So what happened is, it was round 5, I believe. We were both 2-2, and
So I just realized that you said it was round 5, not it was around 5. It was around 5 p.m. and we were sipping
on a brisk Seattle morning.
sipping our tea.
Yeah.
No, but it was round 5, and before we started our round, the judge comes up to me and my opponent, and said, "Lucky for you guys, you get the random deck check."
Oh shit! That's a thing.
Yeah, deck checks are a thing, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I haven't sideboarded the whole time I've been here." So I was like, I packed up my stuff, gave it to him, and my opponent, you could see the fear in his eyes. He's like, oh shit, like he stole something. He looked scared and was about to get caught. So he shuffled his stuff, gave his deck to the judge, and I'm just sitting there casually like, this is dumb.
Why are you wasting my time?
Why are you wasting my time? And my opponent is like, his hands are shaking. I could see him shaking, and I could tell he was scared. The judge comes back and said, you guys are good to go. And I was like, damn it. So we played game one. I won game 1. He won game 2. Game 3 comes around. We're in the middle of game 3. And the judge comes back over and says, hey, I need to borrow your opponent for a second. So I was like, God damn it, we don't have much time left.
Yeah.
So he brings my opponent off. He brings my opponent off to the side, and they're talking. And my opponent comes back, sits down, and we start playing again. Judge walks away. Comes back 2 minutes later, and he's like, sorry, I need to bring your opponent one more time.
What the hell?
And I was like, son of a bitch. And I was like, all right, that's fine. And they go and talk, and the judge comes back and says, due to unforeseen circumstances, your opponent actually has a game loss. And I was thinking deep down, like, oh, fuck yes. Because I was probably going to lose that round. My board state was shitty compared to his. And I was like, all right, sorry about that, opponent. Shook his hand, walked away. 5 minutes later, I found the judge. I was like, yo, bro, like, I didn't pay you anything. What's up? And I was like, why'd you DQ him? And I thought you deck checked us. And he said, well, there's 1,300 entries or something like that of deck entries, and we couldn't find his. And I was like, so how did he have an invalid deck? He said, well, I checked what he had in his deck that he gave me, and I asked him if he had a picture of his deck list. And luckily my opponent did, showed the judge compared it, and I guess there was a couple cards off, and so he gave him a game loss.
Damn.
Wow.
So I guess one thing to note on this is that the deck that you register your deck and also the sideboard with it. And so the deck that you start with, every single, like your first game has to be the original deck that you register.
Yes.
Really?
So
Yes.
if he's like mixed in part of his sideboard and hasn't like de-sideboarded basically, then you can get a game loss from that. And so I'm assuming that that's probably what
Yeah.
happened. Or maybe he was just legitimately cheating and you got off with a lucky break.
I don't know.
He
I
got
think he
unlucky.
was legitimately cheating because you could tell he was scared when he was getting that deck check. Like, you could see the fear in his eyes.
Weird.
And I was like, oh,
Random
man.
deck check.
About to get
Big
a
quotes
game
on this.
win. But
Shit, dude, so when you get a game loss, is that like another warning to the tournament? Like, hey, this is a game loss, don't do it again, or is he out of the tournament?
well, since that was we were both 2-2. That was game 3. He
I
got
guess,
the
yeah.
game loss. He was 2-3. Couldn't qualify for the next day.
Yeah.
But had that been his second game loss?
It kind of goes on like a system, just like if that's his second like game loss because of a significant rules violation, then he could just be straight DQ'd. But if it's just like a game loss in general, then it's just like, okay, you've messed up. This is the mistake. This is how you correct it. One game loss isn't a just DQ from the tournament. Usually, like it could be
Right. Well, I meant like if that was his second loss of the bracket that he got DQ'd, does that take him out of the tournament, or
If he
does
gets
he have the
DQ'd, he's
opportunity?
done. If he gets just a game loss, then that's a game loss. Like he's best of 3. A game loss is not necessarily even losing the match. You could still come back from that.
yeah, they'd probably be like,
Even if
hey,
it's for a rules
here's your
violation.
deck list, make this deck, and then you keep playing.
Okay.
But since it was his third loss, he's like, well, I'm out anyway, so
Yeah.
fuck this shit.
Yeah, he was pretty pissed about it.
I mean, I'm not a judge, so I can't really like give hard rules
Not yet.
things here. Yeah, sure. But it's just like there's so many things that go around winning, losing, game rules violations that result in losses. Like there's just a lot that could have happened that we don't know about. Like we weren't there. We don't know what the
Right,
judge call
yeah.
was specifically. Like if he didn't have the right deck, it could be because he didn't sideboard. It could be because he's cheating. Like
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of different things that could happen.
yeah, like if he's just straight cheating, then it's a game loss, not necessarily like a match loss. It's not like you're disqualified. Like,
Banned from the city.
yeah, like you could just straight up be banned from playing during the rest of Magicfest. Like that is a thing that can probably happen. Well, we've kind of gone on random tangents.
I mean,
all over
that
the
was a
place.
really good
No,
anecdote.
I like
liked
it. I think that it kind of brings in just play fair Magic. Like if you're there to play Magic, play fair Magic. Don't try and cheat.
Yeah, obviously we're all there trying to win whenever we play Magic, but don't ruin the
You're
experience
playing-
for everybody.
a game. You're there to have fun. You're there to have a nice experience. So is everyone else. Don't ruin it for other people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael, for those stories. Really really appreciate you coming on the show. It really is nice to have a guest, obviously a good friend, to join us. We're going to have Michael back here hopefully soon. We're going to be talking about alternate win cons when you're back on. Something that we've talked about time and time again. Anytime alternate win comes up, Michael's name just is thrown into the mixture.
Gotta love him.
Apparently, you're just the alt win con guy.
Dude, I
He
can't
is.
win regularly.
Tricky bastard.
Clearly, like he has to have a judge help him out.
You gotta get this guy DQ'd.
That's how I win, boys.
Hell yeah.
Of course, we want to remind everyone, if you're drinking along with us, be safe, be responsible. Don't drink if you're underage. Don't drink and drive. We want you to be safe. Let's just have fun. Let's be responsible.
So we've been drinking some really delicious beers. Today was a home run for all 4 of these brews.
Yeah, I brought back some good ones from Oregon. I guess technically not all of them were strictly from Oregon, but
So
Michael won beer of the show, I think, with
Beer
his
of the show winner.
Oh, yeah.
Almanac
His choice.
Blackberry
Yeah.
Sour. Yeah.
The Beauty of Marcellers in Idaho Falls.
Represent. Shout
Represent.
out.
Shout out.
them out a lot.
Sponsorship.
Too. Hell yeah. But I mean, we're always looking for new stuff from out of state, from out of country. If you guys have some ideas of what we should be drinking, absolutely hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on pretty much all the platforms at UUD Podcast or Untap Upkeep Drink on Instagram.
And like Cory said at the beginning of the show, like check us out on YouTube. You'll see the color of the beer.
Yeah.
Check out
All these-
the cards that we have. Anything that we named, we're going to be showing on screen. So check those out.
Yeah, you see all the cool labels.
You'll see a picture of Michael in his Moe shirt. Figure out who he is.
Ma woo.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. This was a fun episode.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
like my small insight to Magicfest today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
I figure we're probably not qualified exactly just to talk about it. Like I can give you all the details, but
Yeah.
I've never been. So
Oh yeah, we can ramble on about random shit, but this is something that none of us have ever even done.
I don't know that we have to say it again, but if you can make it to Vegas, absolutely get your tickets as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Head on out there and play some fucking Magic, boys.
yeah, if you're in the area,
it's all about.
California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, I don't know, anywhere. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Just if you think it's worth the trip, it probably is. Like
Yeah.
go out and enjoy. Like you're gonna be inside, so get away from the desert heat anyways. Like no one wants to be in there.
But guys, it's been a ton of fun talking about Magic Fest, and as always,
Have fun.
But not too much.